This is going to be the longest episode I've ever done, and we're going to cover every single significant thing that Diddy has done in his life, and we're seeking to answer two major questions. One, why was he able to get away with so many things for so long? And two, why did the script flip on him? You know, like, how does a guy who gets away with everything for over 30 years, like abuse, trafficking, intimidation, everything, nothing sticks to him, like assault after assault after assault, allegation after allegation after allegation, everything you could think of, he was untouchable. And then boom, all of a sudden in 2024, the entire world shifts on him, gets a flood of allegations, a flood of lawsuits, all these crazy things. Like, whoever was protecting him just totally threw him out to the wolves. So that's what we're going to explore today, along with all of the things that he is alleged to have done, the potential network that he was a part of, and many, many things that you've likely never heard before, because it's tough to find this stuff and not a lot of people are talking about it. This thing's a lot more interesting and a lot deeper than people are speaking about or letting on. So sit back, get comfortable, because this is probably going to be 3 or 4 hours, and by the end of this episode, you're going to know everything you need to know about who Diddy is, what he has done, what he's a part of, and what to expect next. Today, Sean Diddy Combs faces 5 federal charges in a criminal case in New York, as outlined in superseding indictment filed in April 2025, racketeering conspiracy alleging that from 2004 to 2024, Combs ran a criminal enterprise through his business empire, engaging in crimes like sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. This carries a maximum sentence of life in prison. Sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion on 2 counts. 1 count relates to victim number 1, alleging mirroring those of ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura. And the 2nd count, added in April 2025, involves victim 2 for conduct between 2021 and 2024. These charges accuse Combs of abusing, threatening, and coercing women into sexual activities, including freak-offs, drug-fueled, coerced sex performances. Each count carries a maximum of life in prison and a mandatory minimum of 15 years. Transportation to engage in prostitution, 2 counts, 1 original count and additional count added in April 2025, tied to victims 2 and 3, alleging Combs facilitated prostitution across state lines. Each count carries a maximum of 10 years in prison. So Combs was arrested September 16, 2024. He's been held without bail at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. He pleaded not guilty to all charges, with his trial starting. Jury selection this past week, May 5th, and opening statements this week started on May 12th. His legal team argues that the acts were consensual and denies any criminal activity, claiming he's unfairly targeted. Additionally, Combs faces over 30 civil lawsuits alleging sexual assault, rape, drugging, misconduct dating back to the 1990s, including claims from minors and both men and women. These lawsuits, separate from criminal charges, accuse him of using his influence to exploit victims. His team dismisses these as attempts for financial gain. So what suddenly changed? What caused him to go from being totally protected from any legal accountability to like the full force of the justice system coming down on him? Was Diddy really protected by the government or a powerful network? And more interestingly, what did he do to lose that protection? So again, in this special deep dive episode, unlike anything I've done before, we're going to unpack the full life story of Sean Diddy Combs, from his days in Harlem to his ascent to a mogul of the music industry and clothing industry and alcohol industry. And we're going to explore the theory that he wasn't just playing the game, that he was part of the system until he was kicked out, thrown to the wolves. So sit back, relax, and get ready to hear all kinds of things that you've never heard before and things that will shock you to your core. So first, let's briefly start off with Diddy's father, because, you know, like father, like son, there's some interesting things around Diddy's father. So Melvin Earl Combs, father of Sean Diddy Combs, was arrested prior to his death in 1971. He was apprehended for possession of heroin and approximately $45,000 in cash. Now, this arrest occurred during a period when he was associated with Willie Abraham, a convicted heroin dealer linked to the Gambino crime family. Following Melvin's arrest, Abraham's heroin cutting mill was raided, leading to charges against Abraham for participating in large-scale heroin distribution conspiracy. Now, these events contributed to suspicions within the criminal underworld that Melvin might have been cooperating with law enforcement. Although no concrete evidence has confirmed this, there is no publicly available evidence indicating that Melvin Earl Combs, the father of Sean Diddy Combs, served jail time prior to his death in 1972. While he was arrested in 1971 for possession of heroin and a substantial amount of cash, records do not specify whether he was convicted or incarcerated following the arrest. So the case remains unresolved at the time of his death, and no further details about any jail time have been disclosed in public records. So this is strange because a 1971 arrest for possession of heroin and $45,000 in cash would have very likely resulted in jail time, especially during that era. Like, this is kind of when things are getting strict about drugs, and especially those type of drugs. Like, Nixon was starting to crack down on this. Like, President Nixon declared drug abuse public enemy number one, and he launched the war on drugs. So courts were under pressure to crack down as hard as possible on narcotics offenses, especially heroin, and especially people who were dealing it. And the pressure for this was really intense, like probably maximum intense for anywhere in the country, in New York and LA. So drug busts that include large amounts of money or heroin were not treated lightly, and not even for first-time offenders. So heroin possession was a felony. In most states, including New York, possession of heroin in significant quantities was classified as a felony, often triggering mandatory sentencing if tied to trafficking. The amount of cash Melvin Combs had, $45,000, would have likely been used as evidence to show intent to distribute, making it a serious trafficking case and not a simple possession case. So Melvin's association with Willie Abraham, a known heroin dealer linked to the Gambino crime family, would have brought even more attention to federal prosecutors. So law enforcement was super active with pursuing these types of things during this time period in that area. You know, this is when Frank Lucas, American Gangster, was at the height of his power. And, the feds would have considered Melvin a valuable asset for getting information about the bigger fish. So why wasn't Melvin jailed? There's really three possibilities. One of them was that he was out on bail awaiting trial between the time of his arrest in 1971 and his death in 1972. Option number two is that he struck a deal and was cooperating with law enforcement. Number three is that the case was still under investigation when he was killed in 1972. So the fact that he was killed before any conviction or jail time further fuels speculation that he may have been suspected of cooperating, even if there's no confirmed evidence. And the way that he was killed, he was just sitting in his car and shot execution style. So that's normally connected with people who are considered rats or informants. That's the way they do it with them. It's just sudden, out of nowhere, not a trace of evidence, no suspect, nothing. So it's not confirmed, but a lot of people believe that Diddy's father might have been an informant for the feds. All right, so we got that cleared up. Now, after that happened, put the family in a tough situation. His mother had to work 3 jobs. They were living in extreme poverty. There's all these stories about him remembering like cockroaches crawling around in their cereal boxes, like extreme heat, extreme cold, like real harsh living standards. And his mother worked as a model, a teaching assistant, a janitor, like 3 different jobs just to scrape by and put food on the table. And, she hustled. She still emphasized the importance of education, Catholic values, staying off the streets, like doing everything in her power to steer him away from the path that his father took. But she didn't tell him what exactly happened. She told him that he died in a car accident, not that he died because he was a drug dealer. So here's where it gets interesting in regards to potentially why Diddy turned out the way he did. So his mother ends up saving up enough money to send him to a good Catholic high school and trying to keep him away from these inner city schools where the crazy stuff's going on. But there was a whole nother danger in this school. So she sends Diddy to Mount St. So Diddy's mother sends him to a Catholic all-boys high school in Mount Vernon called Mount St. Michael Academy. Now, in 1988, 2 of the faculty members from the school, they were accused of molesting students, Reverend Bernard Lynch and Brother Timothy Brady. So these allegations against Lynch and Brady involved 3 boys but no public records confirm or identify that Diddy was one of them. But the timing of when these allegations happened and when they got in trouble for this overlap during the time that he was there. So there is a chance that he might have been assaulted by these Catholic school faculty members when he was a teenager. And given the allegations of the things that we'll get to later with Diddy and boys this age, I don't know, maybe something happened there, because that typically is what causes somebody to be that way, is when that happens to them when they're that age. So Diddy goes on to enroll in college at Howard University in the late 1980s. Now, he was already like super entrepreneurial minded, super motivated, high energy guy, very ambitious, and starts organizing large-scale college parties that gain local recognition. These events showcase his marketing ability and promotional skills from a young age, which would later catch the attention of industry figures and be the defining factor that really gets his foot in the door, so to say. Now, he develops a connection with Heavy D. Now, he has a childhood connection with a rapper named Heavy D, who's a somewhat prominent rapper artist who signed with Uptown Records. And Heavy D played a significant role in introducing Combs to a guy named Andre Harrell, who's the founder of Uptown Records. And Combs credited Heavy D for helping him get his foot in the door, stating that Heavy D facilitated the initial meeting with Harrell. So Combs, this wasn't like a quick, easy, like, oh, hey, how you doing? You got a job. This was like a serious pursuit. So Diddy actively pursued this guy, Harrell, was constantly tracking him down, pitching him on why he'd be a great fit there, saying that he'll work for free, all this and that. And in a 2023 Variety tribute, Combs, Diddy recounted taking Harrell to lunch and offering to work for free to gain knowledge, emphasizing that no one was teaching young Black entrepreneurs the business at the time. Now, his persistence and ability to make things make sense impressed Harrell and led to him getting the opportunity to work this internship. Now, to manage this internship, while still enrolled at Howard University in Washington, D.C., Diddy really did demonstrate some serious dedication here. He traveled between Washington, D.C. and New York multiple times per week, sometimes sleeping on the train, spending a total of 16 hours per week just traveling on the train, and even hiding in the bathroom sometimes so he didn't have to pay, so he could afford this commute. So he begins this internship around 1990, and he leaves Howard University about 1 year after starting the internship because he wants to just go all in on this. And he immediately showed that he was very talented and skilled at marketing and promoting and shaping the image of a music artists. Like, he was never a guy who was good at rapping. He always gets trolled and made fun of because he's a kind of a wannabe rapper, and he would have people like write songs for him where he tried to rap and make hits and make albums, and was never any good at that. But he was a very good promoter, very good producer of music, and gets promoted to the talent director at just age 20. So really had a rapid rise within this business, Uptown Records. Here's where it gets interesting. So this guy, Andre Harrell, who was running Uptown Records, he was the founder. He's a former rapper. He started Uptown Records in 1986 after working with Russell Simmons at Def Jam Records, where he served as vice president and general manager. And Harrell was making a name for himself. He signed people like Mary J. Blige, Jodeci, and Harry D, and Heavy D. But here's the strange part that you might gloss over at a glance. So this guy, Andre Harrell, he's only 29. Diddy's only 20. So how the hell did this guy, Andre Harrell, start his own business in the music industry, which is very difficult to penetrate, especially without distribution? So how does this young guy start a whole record label at such a young age? That's where it gets interesting. So that's immediately what I was asking myself. How does this young 29-year-old have this successful record label in this very, very difficult and guarded industry? Introduce a man named Clyde Davis. Clyde Davis is like a titan of the music industry. So 1967 began his music industry career at Columbia Records, where he signed iconic artists such as Janis Joplin, Santana, Bruce Springsteen, and Aerosmith. Founded Arista Records, which was like a titan of the music industry from 1974 to 2000, and played a pivotal role in launching the careers of Whitney Houston, Barry Manilow, Patti Smith, and a lot of others. And we're going to work for RCA, would work for Sony Music Entertainment. So like literally every big place in the music industry, he was a part of it. And as of today, he's worth anywhere from $850 million to $1 billion. Now, in the late 80s, Clive Davis, who was the CEO of Arista Records, signed a distribution deal with Uptown Records, which was founded by Andre Harrell. Now, this made Arista the major label partner behind Uptown's releases, a crucial move that gave Uptown access to national distribution. It gave them marketing muscle and gave them some radio clout. You know, it made them a serious player. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Clive Davis, he's openly bisexual, according to the internet. And the reason that's relevant is because Suge Knight, former Death Row Records CEO, you might have heard of Suge Knight, he claimed in a prison interview with News Nation that music executives Clive Davis, Russell Simmons, and Andre Harrell used, quote, drugs, alcohol, and sex to control Sean Diddy Combs, Usher, and Justin Bieber. He alleged that these executives used things like cocaine, alcohol, and led to weird behavior that impacted Combs. He went on to claim that they compromised Diddy's manhood through drugs and sex, and that they extended similar tactics to young Usher and Bieber for control. And that wasn't even necessarily related to their sexual orientation. It was more of a control thing. So allegedly, according to Suge Knight, this guy, Clive Davis, he would form these partnerships with people and get them all doped up and do embarrassing things with them, and I guess record it and blackmail them for control. Does it sound a little bit familiar? Now, something important to note, because this really brings this thing full circle potentially. So in my book club, we just finished a book called One Nation Under Blackmail, Volume 1 to Volume 2 by Whitney Webb, total masterpiece. And she mentions a group called the Mega Group, which allegedly formed in 1981 by Edgar Bronfman Sr. and Charles Bronfman. And it's a network of influential Jewish philanthropists, business leaders, and included people like Leslie Wexner, Robert Mercer, Sheldon Adelson, and they claim the group is tied to political influence, media influence, intelligence activities, and potentially connections to the Mossad and networks like Robert Maxwell and even Epstein. Allegedly, of course. Now, I looked, and there's nothing that states that Clive Davis is directly connected to the Mega Group, but he does fit the criteria. You know, he's from New York, he's Jewish, and he runs in the same circles as these guys. Like the Bronfmans allegedly were the founders of this Mega Group, and they run the company Warner Brothers, one of the biggest music groups in the world during this time and even today. And there's this article here that I found that's in the show notes, which is going to be in the book club. So if you want the show notes and if you want to know more about the One Nation Under Blackmail, I gave a chapter by chapter summary of the book in my book club. So QR code here, link in the comment section or in the description. So if you want to check that out, go right ahead. But there's this article that talks about the Mega Group and mentions Clive Davis in it and mentions Diddy in it. And it says, quote, according to this article at shakya.com and tvmix.com, it says, quote, Sean Diddy Combs, accused of acting as an enforcer for this syndicate, aiding in intimidation, coercion, and even direct sexual assault. Diddy is alleged to have both participated in trafficking and benefited from subsequent blackmail payoffs. And like I said, Warner Music is now led by Edgar Bronfman. Like Whitney Webb, pretty solid source, alleges that the Bronfmans started this Mega Group. He's in the same industry as Clive Davis, same profile. So I think there's a potential that Clive Davis runs in these circles with this whole blackmail system. I mean, Suge Knight also corroborates it. You know, take that source for what you will. But he says that there's some sort of blackmail situation going on with these young artists. The Mega Group, you know, very strong precedent of them using blackmail. So that's not shocking information to you. Everybody's been talking about Diddy being part of a blackmail network, but it's shocking to me that it might actually be the same network as Epstein. You know, we thought of these as two different entities, but it might be the same people operating a network of blackmail, just like through different industries. All right, so we thought it might have been two different sets of blackmail operations, but it might be the same one. Now, here's some questionable things that Clive Davis has been a part of, just to show you what kind of character he might be. So in 1973, CBS fired Davis amid fraud allegations. In 1973, Davis was dismissed from his position as president of Columbia Records. Amid allegations of financial improprieties, CBS accused him of misusing company funds for personal expenses, including home renovations, lavish parties, and Davis denied intentional wrongdoing, but later pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor tax charge related to unreported income. He was fined and received a suspended sentence. Another thing, this is kind of a loose out there one. Following the death of Whitney Houston in 2012, there were theories out there that suggested potentially that Davis, who had a close personal relationship with Whitney Houston, was somehow involved or related to it. This was even further fueled by him releasing albums of Whitney Houston after her death and profiting from it. And, you know, when he was criticized for this, he said, oh, no, I was just doing it for her legacy. I wasn't doing it for money. I don't know. And then there are thoughts and rumors and speculations out there that he's part of a clandestine network that's controlling the music industry and manipulating artists for profit. Who knows? Who knows? But I laid out the evidence for you that it might be the case. Nothing confirmed, just saying what I found. Now, Diddy eventually gets fired by Andre Harrell, and guess what? Mr. Clive Davis helps him start his own record label. Goes in a 50-50 partnership, gives him the seed money to start it. So that's how Badboy Records started. And I always wondered this, like, how the hell is this guy Diddy, you know, in his early 20s, how does he have the money to start his own record label? Well, that's how. He has one of the biggest people in the music industry giving him the seed money for it. So that's something that never gets talked about. Clive Davis was 50-50 partners with Diddy at Badboy Records. So they're acting like they're this, you know, hard, rebellious, up-and-coming music record label that's like going against the establishment, but they're, you know, partnered right up there with the establishment. There's a lot of reasons and speculations out there for why Diddy got fired. Some say that he was like overly aggressive, overly opinionated, that he was, you know, overstepping. Some say it was because of the style that he was trying to impose amongst the artists. But wherever the case, he was super successful there. Like the numbers all went up. Like he was very good at marketing, promoting, producing albums and songs, and like creating a brand within the artists. So he leaves, goes solo. Not really, because he's with Clive Davis, and goes on ahead and starts Badboy Records. And within 4 years, it sells nearly $100 million in records, producing 38 platinum albums and multiple Grammys. So Biggie, Notorious B.I.G., was discovered at Uptown Records by Diddy, was potentially one of the reasons that Diddy got fired, because they didn't like Biggie's style. But, you know, Biggie became like the flagship guy for Badboy Records. Like he's really what put them on the map. He was a phenom. And it's really cool. I mean, you see some of these videos of Biggie literally just rapping in the streets. That's how he got discovered. And, you know, for all the shitty things about Diddy, like he was good at spotting potential and like scouting talent and then developing that talent. Like, for example, Diddy, he was the mastermind behind Mary J. Blige's soulful What's the 411 and Jodeci's steamy remixes, and like had a knack for blending R&B's polish with hip hop's edge, but just could not get along with the people. Maybe he wanted to get fired. Maybe he wanted to start his own thing. I mean, believe it or not, Harold wanted like a cleaner image than Biggie, and said that Biggie was too unpolished and like too rough for the label's brand. So I mean, it worked out for Diddy when they went solo. Gets fired in 1993, and Harold allegedly said to him, "You're too big for this house." And Harold lets Diddy take Biggie's contract as a parting gift. What a freaking gift that was. And I mean, like, how much do you think he regretted that? Like, Biggie represented the East Coast. Like, they had nobody. The West Coast had NWA, they had Tupac, they had Snoop, and then the legend of Biggie was born. And, you know, this is a lesson of ego, because there's even rumors out there that say Harold fired Diddy because he was outshining him. Gotta check that ego. So I told you, Clive Davis invested in Diddy. So they gave him a $15 million distribution deal. So Diddy took Biggie out of the streets, because he had gotten in trouble for drug selling and stuff, moved him from Brooklyn to a New Jersey apartment, paid for it, keep him focused, keep him out of the streets. Biggie literally just got off a drug bust, and he got lucky with not getting in too much trouble because of it. He was eager to be a star. He's telling his friends, this guy better do it. He keeps telling me he's going to make me a star, so we'll see. But this was like a real coach quarterback situation. So Diddy was really molded Biggie's image, coached him on how to act, how to rap, the style to go for, was supposedly the inspiration behind some of his music. Who knows if that's true, because we know that he likes to give himself more credit than he deserves a lot of the time. He told Biggie to stop wearing baggy jeans, told him to start wearing sharp suits and brand himself as sort of like a Don. So Biggie really was a phenom. They called him the one-take king. So Biggie renamed the Notorious B.I.G. after a legal snag with the Smalls moniker tied to the 1975 film character. They called him a rap unicorn. His baritone voice, intricate rhymes, storytelling, painted vivid tales of crack sales and Brooklyn grit, and it set him apart. Diddy marveled at his one-take prowess, where Biggie spit off flawless verses without even writing them down. Probably developed by his freestyle game, and Lil C is told XXL in 2003, Big would walk in, hear the beat, mumble for 10 seconds, and then nail it. He said it was like watching Picasso paint. So Badboy had a meteoric rise because of Biggie, and by 1997 it had $100 million in sales, and that's according to a Fortune report in 1998, and it was, of course, fueled by Biggie. So the East Coast finally had something to be proud of in the rap world to go up against the West Coast. Now, here's where it gets nasty. So the title Ready to Die was coined by Diddy and was obviously really prophetic. And Diddy was known for having his artists sign deals that weren't super advantageous to them. So it's widely acknowledged that Biggie was getting ready to leave Badboy Records because of how bad his deal was. So here's how the structure of the deal was, allegedly. So when Diddy got fired from Uptown and started Badboy Records, took Biggie with him, signed him as one of the label's first artists, gave him a small signing advance of between $60,000 and $100,000. Gave him a small signing advance between $60,000 and $100,000, which was probably a ton for him at the time, coming off the streets. But his royalty rate was probably around 10 to 15% of the album revenue, minus recoupables. So things like studio time, music videos, tour support. So albums go platinum, but recoupables and label accounting practices mean artists only see a fraction of the profits at the end of when everything's all accounted for. Publishing rights. It's widely believed that Diddy kept a large portion of Biggie's publishing rights through Badboy's in-house deals. Biggie didn't own most of his masters or publishing, which meant long-term passive income went to Badboy, Diddy, not Biggie, not his family. And Diddy wasn't just Biggie's label head. He also heavily managed his image, his sound, his brand, super hands-on. He kind of controlled every aspect of his image according to what the word is out there, what sources say. So Biggie had very limited creative and financial control over his business decisions early in his career. So it's kind of like a Don King, Mike Tyson situation. So Biggie launched something called Junior Mafia, but it also ran through Badboy, which gave Diddy oversight over related projects. And Biggie hoped it would build generational wealth. But here's the thing. So there's a lot of evidence to show that Diddy was behind the assassination of Tupac and behind the assassination of Biggie. But you might ask yourself, why would he take out his number one guy? Well, a lot of sources say that Biggie was getting ready to leave Badboy Records prior to his death. And Diddy figured, supposedly, that if he died, it would just immortalize Biggie, which, it did. And, his record that came out in 1997, Life After Death, went diamond, meaning it sold 10 million units. So Diddy made a ton of money off of that. And I believe to this day, Biggie's mother is still trying to regain control or regain rights to his music. Now let's rewind for a second. So in 1994, 14-year-old Usher was kind of a rising talent in LaFace Records, faced a career crisis when Puberty disrupted his vocals, prompting label co-founder L.A. Reid to consider dropping him to salvage Usher's potential. Reid sent him to live with 25-year-old Diddy at the time in his New York City Puffy Flavor Camp, which was an informal mentorship to instill urban flavor and industry savvy. So he pitched it as living in his lavish world of music, parties, celebrity, and Usher allegedly witnessed things like orgies and revealed a whole bunch of crazy stuff in a 2016 Howard Stern interview. And, you've seen the clip with Kevin Hart where he's talking to Diddy and Usher, and he's like, what the hell did Puffy just say? Like, he's like, yeah, we'd be wrestling over the, what do you say, the Frosted Flakes every day. I'm like, what, dude? You had a 14-year-old boy living with you and you're talking about wrestling? So that's one of the weird things. In 2002, Diddy talked about sharing a bed with him, wrestling over cereal with Usher. But there's no official allegations that came forward because of this. I mean, maybe because he's embarrassed by it. But Usher eventually has his career take off in 1997, so came at a price. Now we got to hit Tupac real quick. So imagine it's November 30th, 1994, in the heart of Manhattan. Tupac Shakur steps into a lobby of the Quad Recording Studios with his entourage. He's young, magnetic, already a target. Suddenly, masked men burst in. 5 shots crack through the air, and 2 rip through his freaking skull. Another tears through his groin. He collapses, bleeding, shaking, robbed of $40,000 in jewelry, but not dead. So miraculously, Tupac survives this one. This isn't even the one where he dies. And after being shot 5 times, pulls himself into the elevator, drenched in blood, rides it up to the 8th floor, only to find Biggie, Diddy, and about 40 other dudes just sitting there, comfortably sipping on champagne, working on their album titled Conspiracy. Nobody rushes to help him. Nobody seems shocked. Tupac scans the room, eyes cold, heart racing, feels like he's set up. And he later sees one of the shooters, one of the people who shot him, appear in Biggie's video. And contrary to popular belief, Biggie and Diddy were not rivals. Like, Biggie often said that he considered Tupac a mentor. They were friends. They spent time with each other. They hung out. And then Diddy had like this weird fixation with Tupac where he tried to dress like him. He tried to literally date the same women that Tupac dated after he dated them. So he was obsessed with Tupac, like almost envious of him in a way. So in 1995, Tupac is sent to prison on alleged sexual abuse charges. Feels abandoned by his friends, broke and bitter. While he's locked up, Biggie releases a song called Who Shot Ya? Some people describe it as a cold, cryptic track that feels like a victory lap over Tupac's trauma. And Diddy claims it's unrelated, but Tupac doesn't believe it for a second. So Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, who was on the PBD podcast, I think it's got like 5 million views, so check that one out. But later admits the track was pulled off the shelf on purpose to ride the media wave of Tupac's shooting, and it worked. Streets are now whispering about war. So Suge Knight enters the ring. Big dude, enforcer type. It's a ruthless death row executive, and bails Tupac out of prison for $1.5 million. Kind of ends up being a blood pact. And at the Source Awards, Suge Knight does not hold back. He says, quote, "Come to death row if you want the executive producer." And Suge Knight does not hold back. He calls Diddy out directly. He said, quote, "Come to death row if you don't want the executive producer dancing in all your videos," taking a shot directly at Diddy because Diddy, would just be bopping around in the background of Biggie's videos because he wants to be famous, but he can't rap, so he's just like hanging around in the background. And when he says this, the crowd explodes. The line in the sand is drawn. It's war, baby. So meanwhile, rumors swirl that Suge is sleeping with Diddy's ex, Misa Hilton, the mother of his son, and it's not business anymore. It's personal officially. So somebody named Jake Robles is gunned down that same year. Suge's close friend and death row bodyguard Jake Robles is murdered at a party in Atlanta. Witnesses say Diddy's bodyguard Anthony Wolf Jones pulled the trigger. No charges stick, but the damage is done. The war is officially real now. Blood for blood. So Tupac releases "Hit 'Em Up," one of the most vicious diss tracks in history. Quote, "First of all, F your bitch and the click you claim." Quote, "First off, F your bitch and the click you claim." Claims to have slept with Faith Evans, Biggie's wife. He mocks Diddy, Lil' Kim, Junior Mafia, everyone. Nothing off limits. So the message, not coming for just your reputation, I'm coming for your life. September 7th, 1996, Vegas. Tyson fight in a white Cadillac. That night, Tupac watches Mike Tyson knock out Bruce Seldon in 109 seconds. Hours later, outside the MGM Grand, he spots an Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, known as a Crip. He spots Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, a known Crip, and beats him down with Suge Knight. Later, while riding down the Vegas Strip in a BMW with Suge, a white Cadillac pulls up. Boom, boom, boom. Tupac's hit 4 times, clings to life for 6 days, and then dies on September 13th, 1996 at age 25. Now, some say Tupac never died, pointing to Machiavelli's 7-day theory sightings in Cuba and his bodyguard, Michael Nice, claiming he helped Tupac fake his death before suddenly he died under mysterious circumstances, and then came out and said, "Oh, not dead, just pretending I died to show how easy it is to fake that somebody's dead." So that's a weird one. Now, a lot of people think Diddy put the hit out. Keith D, who's a Crip and uncle to Orlando Anderson, publicly claims Diddy offered him $1 million to kill Tupac and Suge Knight. Diddy denies it, calling the allegations lies, claiming he was devastated by Tupac's death, but the whispers never stopped. The violence that followed Biggie's murder just 6 months after seemed to confirm nobody was safe anymore. And we'll talk about Keith D later. He's, I think, actively being tried right now for Tupac's murder, which, again, interesting timing with same time as this flood of legal stuff hit Diddy. The Keith D stuff finally comes out, which people seem to have known about this for years. Like PBD had an investigator on with the string board and everything, said it was Keith D. I think that was 6 years ago. So why now? March 9th, 1997, the last ride of Biggie Smalls. So in Los Angeles, flashing cameras, A-list parties, an ever-present chill of death in the air. Chris Wallace, the Notorious B.I.G., the king of the East Coast rap, was in LA promoting his comeback album, Life After Death. He was glowing, cracking jokes, believing the storm was passing, and just hours earlier he told an interviewer, quote, "I'm just trying to live, man, just trying to get through this." But fate had other plans. That night, after leaving an after party at the Peterson Automotive Museum, Biggie's SUV pulled up to a red light near Fairfax and Wilshire. Smooth routine until it wasn't. Black Chevy Impala rolled up, the window slid down, the trigger was pulled. 4 hollow point bullets tore through the car. 1 hit Biggie in the hip, another in the chest, 2 struck his lungs and heart. Within moments, the 25-year-old legend was gone. In the SUV ahead, Sean Diddy Combs, untouched, alive, watching history be rewritten in his rearview mirrors. Now, behind the curtain, something different was happening. So publicly, Diddy wept, mourned, preached peace. But behind the scenes, there started to be a more sinister narrative that started to brew. So industry insiders whispered that Biggie had planned to leave Badboy Records, frustrated with his contract and lack of control over his own publishing. And obviously, like we said, Diddy owned Biggie's publishing. Biggie was losing millions of dollars to his deal with Diddy, and Diddy stood to lose millions of dollars if Biggie walked. So it's a little weird that Diddy's car didn't get shot at, just Biggie's. And Tupac's family called it out. They were like, all right, this is not coincidence. What the hell, Diddy? And in 2004, in an Eminem lyric, he asked the question directly, quote, "Puffy, is you punking me? Is you causing this confusion?" End quote. So Biggie's final album, Life After Death, dropped just weeks after his murder. It was a commercial earthquake, selling millions, and conveniently, the rights stayed with Diddy. In fact, No Way Out, Diddy's solo debut, was already in motion. The timing was immaculate too immaculate, featuring posthumous Biggie verses. The album was packaged like a eulogy, but smelled more like an opportunistic grab. And what the hell are the odds that the name of the thing is Life After Death? And who was the one who was naming Biggie's albums? Diddy. One critic even wrote that it feels like Diddy turned Biggie's casket into a studio booth. The album soared to #1, sales exploded. Diddy became a household name overnight. Not just a producer, but a front man. So was Diddy a grieving friend, or the puppet master who saw too much power in the hands of somebody else? To this day, the whispers have not died. The LAPD's investigation collapsed. Witnesses vanished. Files were sealed, but the timing, the business dynamics, the perfect storm of betrayal, ambition, and they still echo louder than any verse Biggie ever spit. One former Badboy insider put it best. He said, quote, "Biggie was worth more to Diddy dead than alive. and everyone in that office knew it, end quote. Suge Knight's response to this, he said, "You don't dance your way to heaven off another man's death." He accused Diddy of monetizing martyrdom, building an empire of the ashes of a friend he couldn't or wouldn't protect. Quote, "Biggie didn't need Puffy. Puffy needed Biggie." 1998, more craziness from Diddy. So by 1998, Diddy was riding a high. By 1998, Diddy was riding a high that few in the industry had ever reached. Multiple platinum records, business ventures popping up, and his face was everywhere. From TRL to Time magazine, but behind the scenes, the pressure, paranoia, and the power that started to warp something in him. It wasn't just about music anymore, it was about an image, about like control and respect. So when a music video connected to Nas, one of the few rappers Diddy didn't control, hit the airwaves with visuals Diddy considered sacrilegious or subtly mocking, something in him snapped. He felt like a line was crossed, and Diddy didn't send a lawyer, he didn't issue a statement, he handled it himself. So according to industry sources, Diddy confronted Nas's manager face to face, no middleman, no warning, just direct physical retaliation. He shattered the man's jaw and broke his arm. One punch to make a point, the next to make sure it lasted. No shouting match, no scuffle, just a cold, calculated beating over a perceived slight. And within the industry, nobody filed charges, no media coverage, no insider tell-alls, no expose, because this wasn't a man who was reacting emotionally. This was like a actual power move and like a message saying like, I could do whatever the hell I want. You can't do anything about it. Like, this is my industry. I'm the power player in this industry. And they say people in the room knew better than to speak up, that the industry sort of closed ranks. And when asked about the incident later, one executive said, quote, "That's when we knew he wasn't just playing mogul, he was playing something else," end quote. So the fallout of this, Nas didn't publicly comment, his team didn't escalate, the silence was strategic, everyone knew how much was at stake. And Diddy, he went right back to the camera flashes, the award shows, the champagne toasts, and untouched. It was one of those moments in hip hop that didn't get a lot of headlines, but changed how people moved around him changed how people moved around Diddy. After that, even critics measured their words, because if a respected manager could get hospitalized over a video, what would Diddy do if you really crossed him? And then there's the whole lore of him being behind Biggie and Tupac's deaths. So this is where the informant speculations come in. So December 27th, 1999, there was this club shooting, and tell me what you think of this. So at a Times Square club, a shooting injures 3 people. Shine, a 20-year-old bad boy artist, is convicted of assault and weapons. So this is where things get weird with him getting away with too much. So just after Christmas, December 27th, 1999, in New York City, freezing outside, but inside Club New York, it was all heat. Packed wall-to-wall with celebrities, models, and money, among them Sean Diddy Combs, Jennifer Lopez, and 20-year-old bad boy rookie, Shine. Fresh off his first single, hungry for approval, shadowing his mentor like a soldier waiting for orders. Around 3 a.m., a champagne-fueled argument erupted. A man allegedly threw cash in Diddy's face, disrespect of the highest order in a room built on ego. Seconds later, gunfire exploded across the club, screams, glass shattering, bodies diving for cover. 3 people were hit, blood streaked on the floors, the music didn't stop, and it was drowned out by panic. Now, witnesses later claimed that Diddy bolted through the chaos, dragging J-Lo by the hand, speeding off in the Lincoln Navigator. But police caught up fast, and inside the vehicle was a 9mm handgun, unregistered, tucked inside the console, and Diddy, Lopez, Shine, and Diddy's bodyguard were all arrested. For 72 hours, Diddy's word hung by a thread. Headlines ran wild, cameras camped outside the holding cells, J-Lo lawyered up and ghosted Diddy. But behind closed doors, the damage control was already in motion. So Diddy made one decision that changed everything. He separated his legal defense from Shine's legal defense. So Diddy got himself Benjamin Brofman, who was one of the most expensive defense attorneys in New York, and brought in Johnny Cochran from the OJ case, who was a superstar in the legal world. And then Shine was left with a public defender, and Shine was claiming self-defense, and Diddy was the one who allegedly fired the shots. That's what several witnesses were saying. Shine insisted he only fired after seeing someone else draw first. Witnesses claimed that Diddy was the first one to pull a gun, but those witnesses vanished. Stories changed, surveillance tapes malfunctioned, and when the trial ended, Diddy acquitted of all charges. Shine, guilty, 10 years, no bail. What? That is some string pulling. And I think it makes a whole lot more sense why now, if like we connect Diddy to this guy, Clive Davis, who is connected to this powerful network of people who are invested and interested in blackmailing, controlling people in an industry. Maybe he could pull some strings. So Shine never flipped, not once. Could have testified against Diddy, could have shaved years off his sentence. Instead, took the fall silently like a soldier. But silence comes at a price. Shine's mother blasted Diddy, accusing him of betrayal and abandonment. Quote, "He used my son like a bulletproof vest," end quote. To many in the industry, it was the final confirmation of a pattern. Diddy builds you up, makes you loyal, and when it goes wrong, you're on your own. So Diddy walks out of the court smiling, dressed like he just left a fashion shoot, and leaned into the camera, told the fans, "Keep the faith," and went right back to business. Endorsements, parties, new albums. Shine disappeared behind bars for a decade. His rap career paused before it even really started. And to this day, the Club New York shooting is seen as a turning point, not just for Shine, but for how people looked at Diddy. The image of a smooth-talking mogul fractured, and a colder truth took shape. When the bullets fly, Diddy was never the one to stand there bleeding. So the big question with this is it suspicious that Diddy didn't have to serve jail time for this? And the answer is yes. It's more than strange. It's highly suspicious. So here's why Diddy avoiding jail time in 1999 Club New York shooting continues to raise eyebrows, especially with the industry and in legal circles. So witnesses allegedly saw Diddy fire the gun. Multiple eyewitnesses claim this, that he was the first to fire, or at least they were seen with a gun during the chaos. By the time the trial started, like we said, witnesses changed their stories or just outright disappeared. Where have we seen that before? We've seen that with the Clinton stuff. We've seen that with people who have serious connections. So like pressure, payoffs, power, intelligence, and the gun was found in Diddy's vehicle. They say it's because they saw him as like a $100 million corporation, but there's a lot of rich people who get in trouble for things like this that are worth tens of millions of dollars. So I think it's got to do a little bit more with connections than money. By the way, here's a chart of Diddy's net worth by year. And surprisingly, it starts to really skyrocket here. So the ongoing federal trial against Diddy is kind of unveiled disturbing allegations that bear resemblance to the operations of Jeffrey Epstein. Prosecutors allege that Combs orchestrated a criminal enterprise involving sex trafficking, coercion, abuse over 2 decades. Oh, by the way, he launches this company called Sean John, which is a clothing line, and Diddy's way of merging hip-hop culture with high fashion. The brand debuted with the men's sportswear collection, quickly gained traction, culminating into a nationally televised runway show during the New York Fashion Week in 2001, a first for a men's line. And he was more involved than a typical celebrity endorser. He was like deeply involved in the brand's direction, earning the Council of Fashion Designers of America's Menswear Designer of the Year award in 2004. The brand was super successful and made him at least $100 million richer by 2004. And his seed funding came from Ron Burkle in 2003. Now, some people have like the touch of gold where, anything they touch is fantastically successful. But when you combine that with being able to get away with whatever you want, I start to wonder if he's being elevated like inorganically to make him more powerful, more influential, so that he could have easier access to the type of situations and information and people that this network could potentially want him to have access to. And then you have the Ciroc situation, which is going to be a big theme later in this when we get into what went wrong for Diddy. So in 2007, Diddy entered a partnership with Diageo to promote Ciroc vodka, at the time underperforming brand. Rather than a standard endorsement deal, Diddy negotiated a 50% share of the profits, taking on the role of brand manager and chief marketing officer. His marketing acumen transformed Ciroc into a premium vodka brand, with sales reportedly increasing from 40,000 cases annually to over 2 million cases sold annually within a few years. Diddy's hands-on approach and celebrity influence were instrumental in repositioning Ciroc in the competitive spirit market. Also partnered with Estee Lauder to launch the Unforgivable fragrance line, even further diversifying its portfolio. So now we got to touch on the nasty stuff. So the white parties. Starting in the early 2000s, Diddy's white parties became the stuff of legend. Annual spectacles thrown in the Hamptons, St. Tropez, or Beverly Hills where the guest lists read like the Oscars and the price tag topped $1 million per event. There's even this South Park episode where like the devil's throwing a birthday party and everything he asks for, the people who are setting up the party, they're like, oh yeah, Diddy did that. So there you go. So everybody had to wear white to these things, not just for aesthetics, but to signal exclusivity, purity, and obedience to the rules. Behind the scenes, the all-white theme was more than a fashion statement. It was carefully curated optical illusion. What looked like an angelic event on camera concealed the debauchery beneath it. So what was going on behind closed doors? So security, airtight, phones were often confiscated. Guests had to sign NDAs, no media allowed, no leaks, and what happened inside totally stayed inside. And this is where the nasty stuff starts to happen. And there were VIP rooms within VIP rooms, so like triple VIP rooms, accessible to only a few people, like music executives, billionaires, handful of young, often barely legal models flown in from overseas. Open drug use was whispered about, but never documented. Cocaine, MDMA, and other substances were allegedly passed around like hors d'oeuvres. And there were even allegations that it was a prerequisite to enter the party to take a shot, like a mystery, like a mystery shot. And a lot of the women who took these shots, like, just totally went dark. No recollection of what happened. And so they were allegedly drugged. Like, prerequisite to enter the party was to drug yourself. So former Badboy insiders have since suggested the parties were not just for fun. They were part of a larger culture of control, sex tapes, drug use, and compromising footage that may have been recorded without consent, either to protect Diddy or silence others, or control others, or influence others. Underage drinking was routinely rumored. Several lawsuits filed in later years referenced events that allegedly began at these parties. Incidents involving intoxicated minors, coerced sex acts, or physical abuse hidden behind the music and the wealth. Some attendees, including celebrities, later spoke off the record about feeling trapped, surrounded by money and power, watching people do things they couldn't unsee, fearing their careers would end if they spoke out. A few described the energy as, quote, not a party, a performance. For who? I don't know, but we were all playing our parts, end quote. So the legacy of the white parties, while most saw only the glamorous photos on page 6, P. Diddy in a white linen suit, flanked by supermodels, insiders, remember a different story. A ritual of excess, a venue for leverage, and possibly a stage for abuse, all hidden behind the blinding glow of wealth and celebrity. So here's a list of allegations from the 2000 VMA after party assault. So September 7th, 2000, when the MTV VMAs lit up New York with Y2K glitz, Britney and Sparkles, Eminem Spit and Fire, and Sean Diddy Combs ruling the night with Jennifer Lopez in that green Versace dress that like totally went viral. The real drama unfolded at Diddy's exclusive after party. And now this is the center of a 2024 lawsuit by Jane Doe. At the time, was 13 years old, claims it was a night of horror. So picture a mansion full of A-listers, music, secrets. Diddy's 30 years old, kingpin at this point. Rolls in with J-Lo. Jay-Z is there. Jennifer Lawrence is there. Jennifer Lopez is there, not Jennifer Lawrence. And so here's the Jane Doe horror story. So this 13-year-old Alabama girl hustles outside Radio City, take a list, but, starstruck. A limo driver, allegedly Diddy's, eyes her up, saying she's exactly what Diddy's looking for, according to the 2024 lawsuit. She's denied VMA entry, but she's promised a spot at his after party, a total trap dressed as a fairy tale. So at the mansion, Jane Doe just bopping around. She's given a reddish yellow drink, tasting like spiked Kool-Aid, hits her hard. She's woozy, collapses in a bedroom, only for Diddy to burst in, eyes wild, yelling, quote, "You ready to party?" Two A-listers, a male and a female, follow. The lawsuit claims the male R-words her as Diddy and the woman watch. Jane Doe slaps Diddy's neck, halting his alleged oral sex attempt, and flees naked to a gas station where her dad rescues her, now battling lifelong depression. The mansion had mirrored walls and reflected a DJ spinning Diddy's, quote, "I'll be missing you," as guests snorted lines per the lawsuit. Jane Doe's drink, described as chemical tasting, it's just a taste of what the freak-offs consisted of. So, we don't know the vast majority of what went down there, but according to that lawsuit, a 13-year-old was drugged and sexually assaulted, and nothing happened to him for 20 years, 24 years. So who are these mystery A-listers? So the lawsuit's unnamed male and female celebrities ignited 2024 firestorm of speculation with fans saying, oh, could it be Jay-Z? Could it be Beyonce? Could it be J-Lo? The lawyer Tony Busby has been silent about this, according to TMZ, and it feels like they're trying to squeeze out a settlement, trying to keep brands toxic-free. J-Lo, who was Diddy's date at the time, was photographed at an MTV bash per Page Six in 2000, but the lawsuit kind of spares her. Still, so we have no idea who these A-list watchers were, but I am sure that there's video evidence of it somewhere. So it'd be interesting to see if we ever get that information. Because geez, imagine what you could get celebrities to do if you had that information on them. When you see people go out there and say inexplicable things that you're like, why are you saying that? That doesn't make any sense. You don't believe that. Maybe that's why. 2001, Karine Steffans' alleged encounter with Diddy. Karine Steffan, in her 2005 memoir, Confessions of a Video Vixen, shares a striking story about being sent to Sean Diddy Combs' home in 2001 by music executives. This occurred shortly after Diddy's widely publicized breakup with J-Lo, positioning Steffans as a sort of gift to the mogul during a tumultuous time. She describes their initial encounter as consensual, painting Diddy as a magnetic figure with intense charisma and control. However, the narrative takes a turn at a later Miami party where tension flared. Steffans alleges Diddy pulled her friend aside and warned them not to trust her, accusing her of secretly recording compromising acts, something she firmly denies. This moment hints at Diddy's guarded nature and perhaps a paranoia about his image, even among close associates. Adding depth to this tale, Steffans offers a vivid snapshot of Diddy's world at this time. She describes his parties as extravagant and unrestrained, marked by a drug-fueled atmosphere where topless women mingled freely and casual drug use was the norm. These details sketch a hedonistic backdrop to Diddy's life in the early 2000s, amplifying the intrigue of Steffans' account, which she insists wasn't a victim. She wasn't a victim. Her story reveals a dynamic of power, excess that's hard to even ignore. It's a lame one. 2003, alleged confrontation with Denzel Washington. The alleged 2003 confrontation between Denzel Washington and Diddy is shadowy, unverified, but sparked plenty of curiosity. So according to sources, the incident unfolded at a party where Washington reportedly lost his cool, shouting, quote, "You don't respect anybody," before storming out. What triggered this outburst? The details are frustratingly vague. Some whisper it stemmed from a personal slight. Others hint at deeper tensions between Diddy with his lifestyle or business dealings. But without confirmation from either side, it's still a mystery. Online speculation has since rolled with people pointing out claims by Allison Carter, who vaguely suggested Washington might have been entangled in Diddy's orbit, perhaps privy to or critical of his activities. However, there's no concrete evidence, unfortunately. But here's the thing. So, maybe I'm wrong, but in terms of vibes, I get a decent vibe from Denzel Washington. I've never gotten a good vibe from Diddy. He's always seemed like a toxic, dark, evil person to me. But Denzel, I feel like I get good, trusting vibes from him. Maybe not. I don't know. Wendy Williams feud with Diddy. So in 2005, Wendy Williams, then a fiery Hot 97 radio host, ignited a feud with Diddy that's still talked about today. Williams claimed to possess two explosive photos, one allegedly showing Diddy with another man in a compromising light, and another depicting Suge Knight with Diddy's young son, Justin. Threatening to air these dirty laundry, she put Diddy on edge. His response, allegedly leaning on Hot 97 executives to axe her, a move that saw Williams bounced to a Philadelphia station. This power play underscores Diddy's influence and his apparent dread of reputational damage. The plot thickens with input from Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard. Deal later clarified that the photo of Diddy wasn't what it seemed. Just a prank where someone yanked down Diddy's pants, not a sexual act, but Diddy's intense reaction suggests he wasn't taking any chances, fearing how even a misinterpreted image could tarnish his empire. The second photo involving Suge Knight and Justin remains murkier because its existence is unconfirmed. Its implications are unclear. This clash with Williams, a media provocateur, highlights a collision between bravado and vulnerability, with Diddy scrambling to control his narrative. In 2006, 50 Cent unleashed The Bomb on his mixtape G-Unit Radio Part 22, Hip Hop is Dead, and it was a direct attack on Diddy. This wasn't your typical rap diss. 50 Cent accused Diddy of being involved in the murder of Notorious B.I.G., one of hip-hop's most enduring mysteries, and in the track 50 raps, quote, "Who shot Biggie Smalls? If we don't get them, they gonna kill us all," end quote. Before flipping the script with, quote, "Man, Puffy know who hit that N-word. Man, that N-word soft," end quote. This bold claim tapped into the conspiracy theories that have swirled since Biggie's 1987 death, tied to the deadly East Coast-West Coast rivalry that also claimed Tupac Shakur. 50 Cent, it was a calculated move that to not only diss Diddy, but to question his loyalty and street credibility in the most provocative way possible. So the bigger picture between 50 and Diddy, 50 always calls Diddy out for doing weird stuff, and I love it. So the feud between 50 and Diddy goes beyond The Bomb. So it's a multi-layer clash fueled by business competition, personal disdain, and the clash of personas. So by the mid-2000s, both were moguls building empires beyond music. Diddy was the face of Ciroc vodka, turning into a billion-dollar brand, while 50 Cent pushed Effin' vodka, aiming to rival Diddy's success. The alcohol industry showdown turned their professional rivalry into a personal vendetta. In 2015, 50 Cent mocked Diddy on Instagram when Ciroc sales reportedly slipped, posting a meme of Diddy dancing with the caption, quote, "This is what happens when you don't pay your artists," end quote. It was a jab at Diddy's business practices and a sign their beef had spilled into every corner of their lives. But it wasn't just about vodka. 50 Cent branded Diddy as a bloodsucker who exploited artists, criticism he voiced loudly in a 2006 XXL interview. Quote, "Puffy's like a sucker for love. He's a fruit pop," end quote. He accused Diddy of signing artists to Badboy Records only to trap them in unfair contracts. A sentiment echoed by artists like Maze, who retired in 1999, citing Diddy's greed, and the Lox, who fought for years to escape Badboy. This narrative painted Diddy as a corporate shark, while 50 positioned himself as the gritty, self-made hustler who's never going to sell out. 50 Cent didn't stop at music or business critiques. He made it personal. He famously avoided Diddy's legendary party, saying in a 2018 Breakfast Club interview, quote, "I don't go to Puffy parties. I don't know what goes on over there," end quote. This was a dig at the rumors of wild, possibly shady behavior at Diddy's events, implying that they were untrustworthy or even dangerous. He took it farther in 2018, accusing Diddy of being gay in a social media rant. Quote, "I think Puffy might be gay. He's always hugging N-words in videos," end quote. This taunt was a classic 50 Cent move and designed to provoke Diddy, and it probably did. Their feud played out in public stunts too. In 2015, after Diddy was arrested for allegedly swinging a kettlebell at his son's UCLA football coach, 50 Cent. In 2015, after Diddy was arrested for allegedly swinging a kettlebell at his son's UCLA football coach, 50 Cent posted a video mocking him, captioning it, quote, "Puffy got a little sugar in his tank," end quote. I don't even know what that means, but it sounds funny. In 2020, he doubled down on the Breakfast Club, calling Diddy fruity and saying, quote, "He don't even know what he is," end quote. These moments showed 50's knack for turning Diddy's missteps into ammunition, keeping the rivalry alive and messy. So what started this originally was, it started as early as the early 2000s, 50 Cent rising as New York's raw rap king, and Diddy was kind of the polished, snobby, champagne sipping mogul. Their styles clashed from the very beginning. 50 even refused to work with Badboy artists in 2003, telling Vibe, quote, "I don't F with Puffy. He's a sucker," end quote. Over nearly 2 decades, 50 Cent has kept the pressure on, using diss tracks, interviews, and social media to paint Diddy as shady, exploitative, and fake. Even in 2024, as Diddy faced legal troubles, 50 pounced, posting old clips with captions like, "I told y'all he was shady," end quote. The rivalry is more than just a personal spat. It's a cornerstone of hip-hop culture, showcasing the genre's competitive edge and flair for drama. From the bomb to the Instagram trolls, 50 Cent has made it his mission to challenge Diddy's legacy, proving that in rap, beef isn't just conflict, it's entertainment, power, and survival rolled into one. Man, I love 50 Cent. I love dudes who aren't afraid to call people out. So shout out to 50 Cent for being one of the few people who are constantly just poking at Diddy. This guy's a freaking bully, straight up bully with like the wind of the establishment on his back, it seems like. But you're not so tough when your friends step away from you and let you deal with the world by yourself, Diddy, huh? In October 2024, a lawsuit was filed in New York federal court by a man identified as John Doe, alleging that Sean Diddy Combs sexually assaulted him in 2008 at a Macy's Herald Square in Manhattan. At the time, the plaintiff was employed by Echo, a rival. So get this. This is how overt this guy was with what he was doing. So in October 2024, there's a lawsuit that came out, filed in New York federal court by a man identified as John Doe, alleging that Diddy sexually assaulted him in 2008 at a Macy's Herald Square in Manhattan. At the time, the plaintiff was employed by Echo, a rival clothing brand to Diddy's Sean John line, both of which were sold at Macy's. And the allegations say that the assaulted Macy's stockroom, the plaintiff claims that Diddy, accompanied by 3 armed bodyguards, entered the stockroom where he was working. He alleges that he was struck, possibly pistol whipped, threatened with death by the bodyguards. Diddy then allegedly forced him to perform oral sex, referring to him as Echo, and making derogatory comments during the assault. After the incident, Diddy purportedly took Sean John merchandise from the stockroom and distributed it to shoppers on the sales floor. The plaintiff reported the assault to the Macy's security, but asserts that no action was taken. He further alleges that approximately 3 weeks later, Macy's CEO Terry Lundgren pressured Echo executives to terminate his employment to safeguard a multi-million-dollar deal between Macy's and Sean John. Subsequently, he was fired and lost his company-provided housing. That is freaking wild. That is not normal. So today, Macy's legal position is that Macy's has sought dismissal from the lawsuit, arguing that the plaintiff's allegations do not support claims under the New York City Victims of Gender-Motivated Violence Protection Law. The company contends that the law does not apply to corporations, for instance, predating 2022, and that the plaintiff's own description of Diddy as an equal opportunity sexual predator undermines the gender-based nature of the claim. So they're not even denying it. They're just saying that he can't complain about it. What? So the current status of the lawsuit is that it remains active, with both Diddy and Macy's denying the allegations. Diddy is also facing multiple other allegations of sexual misconduct. He has denied all accusations and is awaiting the results of his trial on these federal charges related to sex trafficking and racketeering. In 2009, Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, a known member of the Southside Compton Crips, was arrested for trafficking a subsequential quantity of narcotics. Facing serious charges, Davis entered into a cooperation agreement with law enforcement, providing information about the 1996 murder of Tupac. According to court documents filed by Las Vegas prosecutors, Davis alleged that Diddy offered him and fellow gang member Eric Zip Martin $1 million to kill Tupac and Death Row Records CEO Suge Knight. Davis claims that this offer was made through Martin, who passed away in 2012. Davis's cooperation included recorded confessions and participation in undercover operations aimed at corroborating the alleged conspiracy. Despite these efforts, no charges were brought against Diddy, who has consistently denied any involvement in Tupac's murder. Davis's role as a confidential informant and his claims about Diddy have been central to an ongoing investigation into Tupac's death. In 2023, Davis was arrested and charged with murder in connection to the 1996 shooting. His trial began in November 2024 and is ongoing. In the early 2010s, Diddy and teenager Justin Bieber shared a high-profile friendship that has since come under scrutiny, especially in the light of recent allegations against Diddy. Resurfaced videos and interviews have prompted discussions about the nature of their relationship and the environments Bieber was exposed to during the formative years in the music industry. The 48-Hour Hangout, a 2009 video titled 48 Hours with Diddy, then 40 years old, is seen spending time with 15-year-old Bieber. Diddy says, quote, he's having 48 hours with Diddy. We can't really disclose what we're doing, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. I've been given custody of him, end quote. He further mentions, quote, we're going to go buck full crazy, end quote, suggesting an intense and possibly adult-themed itinerary. Jimmy Kimmel live appearance. In 2011, Diddy appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and Diddy and Bieber discussed their friendship. Diddy referred to Bieber as, quote, like a little brother, and emphasized their close bond. At one point, Diddy remarked, quote, he knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television, end quote, which some interpreted as a warning to keep certain activities private. Khloe Kardashian's party antidote. In 2014, in the 2014 episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Khloe Kardashian recounted attending a party hosted by Diddy, where she noted that many attendees were butt naked. She mentioned that Bieber was present at the party, raising questions about the appropriateness of such environments for a teenager. Suge Knight's allegations. Former Death Row CEO Suge Knight, currently incarcerated, alleged that Combs exploited young artists, including Bieber, Usher. Knight claimed that Bieber was sent on vacations with older men under the guise of mentorship, describing it as, quote, the saddest thing in the world, end quote. Bieber's response: as of now, Bieber has not publicly addressed these specific allegations or his past relationship with Combs. Reports suggest that he is focusing on his family and personal life amidst the ongoing controversies surrounding Diddy. The re-examination of Bieber's early associations in the industry underscores the importance of safeguarding young artists in potentially exploitative situations, of course. On May 7th, 2012, Machine Gun Kelly, then 22 years old, and a rising rapper recently signed to Diddy's Badboy Records, tweeted, okay, quote, okay, so I just saw a picture of Eminem's daughter, and I have to say, she is hot as F in the most respectful way possible because M is king, end quote. He was referring to Hallie Jade, who was 16 at the time. So Machine Gun Kelly framed this tweet as a compliment, but many saw it as disrespectful and inappropriate, given Haley's age and Eminem's history of violently defending his daughter in lyrics. Machine Gun Kelly did not delete the tweet. In fact, he doubled down in a later interview, claiming it was blown out of proportion. While Eminem didn't immediately respond publicly, rumors quickly spread throughout hip-hop circles. Eminem allegedly had Machine Gun Kelly blackballed from Shade 45, his SiriusXM radio station, and certain music festivals. Machine Gun Kelly later claimed that he was banned from appearing on certain major platforms and that the backlash slowed his momentum as a rapper. Quote, certain people won't do songs with me because they're affiliated with them. That's a real thing, end quote. Machine Gun Kelly, 2018 Breakfast Club interview. The beef that boiled over years later. So although the tweet happened in 2012, the real explosion came 6 years later in 2018 when Eminem released the surprise album Kamikaze, where he finally addressed Machine Gun Kelly directly in the song Not Alike. Quote, but next time you don't got to use Tech 9 if you want to come at me with a submachine gun, end quote. Machine Gun Kelly responded within days with Rap Devil, a full disc track aimed at Eminem, referencing the tweet to blackballing and calling M bitter and outdated. Eminem clapped back with Kill Shot, which crushed Machine Gun Kelly critically and led many to declare M the winner of the beef. So what was the role of Badboy Records and Diddy? At the time of the tweet, Machine Gun Kelly was still under Diddy's Badboy label, which added intrigue. Many wondered why Diddy didn't advise Machine Gun Kelly to pull back. Some fans speculate that Machine Gun Kelly's rebellious brand was embraced or at least tolerated by a Badboy to stir controversy and raise his profile, even if it came at a cost. That single 2012 tweet snowballed into a career-defining beef, leading Machine Gun Kelly pivot from rap to pop punk. It also demonstrated Eminem's long memory and industry influence. The idea that even a respectful tweet about his daughter could trigger a multi-year fallout, or at least what Machine Gun Kelly called respectful. In 2016, Diddy retires from music, announces he's going to focus on other ventures despite minimal recent output, or like pretty much no output at all. And he reached billionaire status in 2022, which is now far below that. Now they're saying it's gone down by as much as 700 million since he got into all this legal trouble last year. So between 2015 and 2017, Diddy's former personal chef, Sydney Ruda, filed a lawsuit alleging sexual harassment, wage violations, and wrongful termination during her employment. So she began working for Diddy in January 2015 as a weekend chef and was promoted to a full-time role in September 2015. Her responsibilities included traveling with Diddy and preparing meals during extended work hours, often from 9 a.m. to 1:30 a.m., without receiving any overtime compensation. In her lawsuit filed May 2017, claimed she was regularly summoned to serve meals to Diddy and his guests during or immediately after sexual activities. She alleged that on multiple occasions, Diddy was naked and made comments about his body, asking if she was attracted to him. Additionally, she reported that male guests approached her in the kitchen after engaging in sexual activity and made inappropriate comments about their genitals. After raising concerns about the inappropriate behavior to Diddy's estate director, Ruda alleged that she was set up for termination. She claimed she was accused of theft for taking a discarded watch, leading to her dismissal on May 8th, 2016. Ruda stated that she was offered a severance agreement contingent upon waiving her right to sue, which she declined. So the lawsuit, which included claims of sexual harassment, hostile work environment, and wage violations, was settled in February 2019 for an undisclosed amount. Ruda's case is among several legal challenges faced by Diddy in recent years, highlighting concerns about workplace conduct and accountability in the entertainment industry. And hey, the reason why I'm reading all of these is because this is all still allegedly, but the more of these that come out, the stronger the potential cases against him. And I don't think a lot of people know the full extent of this. Like that Macy's one really sticks out to me. And then wait till you hear what he did to his girlfriends. Like that's where it really gets twisted. And his girlfriend Cassie, his ex-girlfriend, is probably the worst case of it. And she's the one who testified yesterday. So Diddy on the Wendy Williams show in 2017. So he appears in the Wendy Williams show, creating a tense atmosphere. When Williams mentioned her 16-year-old son, Diddy interrupts, noting he met him backstage and prompted discomfort. And a lot of people interpreted that as like a veiled threat. And Williams later claims that Diddy sabotaged her career and sent women to assault her outside her radio station. May 2018, Jonathan Odie, a former adult film actor, was arrested after opening fire at the Trump National Doral Golf Club in Florida during this guy, there's footage of him running around the place like a crazy man, like doing all kinds of weird stuff. It's like firing a gun off, being chased by the police. Totally crazy dude. But during his police interrogation, he made a series of claims alleging that he had been a sex slave for Diddy and Cassie Ventura. He stated that he had signed a non-disclosure agreement with Diddy in 2014 in exchange for $5 million to remain silent about their alleged sexual encounters. Odie's ex-wife, attorney Tanya Troutwine, corroborated the timing of the NDA, noting that it coincided with their divorce proceedings. She observed that Odie's financial situation improved dramatically around that time, including the cash purchase of multiple properties, which she attributed to the alleged $5 million settlement. While Odie's claims were initially dismissed, they have resurfaced amid ongoing legal scrutiny of Combs, who faces multiple allegations of sexual misconduct and abuse. The emergence of the NDA has added a new dimension to the investigations, prompting further examination of the rapper's past associations and alleged activities. As of now, Odie remains in custody, awaiting trial for changes related to the 2018 shooting incident. While Combs continues to face legal challenges stemming from various allegations, this is all playing out. And wait till you hear what he had these sex slaves do to Cassie against her will, allegedly. So here's Diddy's romantic history, I guess you could call it. So a lot of these led to trauma and abuse allegations. Kim Porter, number one, longest, most serious partner. The relationship was, plagued by infidelity, like overlapping pregnancies with another woman, Sarah Chapman. And Kim died suddenly in 2018 from lobar pneumonia, but the timing and secrecy around her death has led a lot of people to speculate on what might have happened. And in 2023, I believe it was, a book came out called, and in September 2024, right when the floodgates opened up with the allegations and the arrest and everything, this weird book comes out that's called Kim's Last Words. And it's supposedly maybe something that she wrote, like a journal or something, but there's no proof that it was actually hers. It's like 59 pages and it's got like a bunch of typos in it. And even weirder, it was sent to this author reporter guy named Chris Todd on a flash drive with strict instructions to publish it under the name Jamal T. Millwood, which turns out is an alias for Tupac, like a name that he used to use as an alias. So what the hell does that mean? And it makes all kinds of allegations about heinous things that took place. They claimed it was false. Amazon pulled it from circulation, but very strange, very strange. Like, she claims to have videos of him doing all kinds of weird, nasty things. And yeah, Jennifer Lopez, that was a quick one. Reportedly, she's the only one that he did not abuse because she, as Cassie will go on to say, he didn't abuse people that he did not completely control, because like Cassie was completely dependent on him because she was like a new artist under his record label, and he was holding the whole thing over her head, like, oh, I'll make sure you're never successful in the music industry if you like aren't compliant with me and this and that. So Cassie's 19 years old when she met Diddy, and he was 37. She signed to his label, and this is kind of how things went down. So she's catching a lot of heat from the media, saying that she's not able to perform live, that she's only sounds good when she's pre-recorded and heavily edited, and it's getting in her head. And first, he takes the approach of defending her in the media publicly, and coming to her defense, whatnot. And he basically just tells her like, hey, we're dating now, while she's dating some like an executive that works at his company. He just like takes the guy's girlfriend, and like she doesn't even want to date him. He's like, yeah, you're my girlfriend now. And like anytime she like slightly resists, he's like, hey, do you want your thing produced? Do you want it produced? Do you want to be a star? And shut up, allegedly. And there's all these weird things, like he made her call him Pop, which supposedly is what she called her grandfather, who was like, she was the like closest with out of everybody in her family. And they had a very abusive relationship, like truly brutal stuff. Allegedly, he would make her find, I guess you'd call male prostitutes online with like a large male part, and like he would get off on like watching them like have sex with her against her will. And she reportedly or allegedly would be like throwing up, not wanting to do this, like passing out and all this crazy stuff. And when she would try to run away or like flee the situation, he would just like beat her and like threaten her. And she leaves him for good one time, and starts somewhat talking to Kid Cudi, or like maybe dating Kid Cudi lately, allegedly. And Diddy catches word of this, and he says to her, like, I'm gonna blow up his car. And Kid Cudi's car gets blown up. Yeah, there's reports of him forcing Cassie to take drugs. There's all kinds of reports. Like, she's the one in that famous hotel video where he chases her down the hallway and starts just like beating her on camera. In that video, another weird thing like that, it got released at the time that it did. Like, all these things happen at once. So again, you're gonna find that out in a second, what my theory is and what happened there. But yeah, so that's what's going on in court right now. As of May 14th, yesterday, Tuesday, May 13th, Cassie was testifying on whether or not these encounters were consensual or not. And then yesterday they were talking about like like how she almost drowned because of the amount of pee that went into her mouth because of like multiple people peeing in her mouth. Like, so real sick stuff. He stopped her from talking to her friends and her family and all kinds of bad things. So they broke up for good in 2018, and he allegedly doxed Cassie. And in 2023, she finally filed a lawsuit. And there's a lot of other things like this, but those are the two main ones. Then in 2018, Ashley Parham's alleged assault. So Ashley Parham files a lawsuit October 2024, again in 2024, alleging that in March 2018, she was assaulted by Diddy after stating during a FaceTime call with a man named Shane that she believed Diddy was involved in Tupac's murder. Shane, claiming to have cancer, lures Ashley to his apartment. Diddy, his chief of staff, and entourage allegedly barge in. Diddy threatens Ashley with a knife, attempts to insert an IUD, and with others, gang R-words her. That is vile. Using baby oil and recording the assault. Like, so they recorded this stuff, allegedly. Now, Diddy's mother, Janice Combs, allegedly yells at Ashley via FaceTime call, calling her a sex worker. So she sounds like an enabler. A fight erupts when an entourage member, unaware of Ashley's Tupac comment, pulls a gun on Diddy, believing he killed Tupac. Ashley escapes, reports the incident to the police, but claims they took no action. The Contra Costa County Sheriff later deems her claims unfounded. Crazy. Now, some people believe Ashley and some do not. But I mean, hey, like with a mountain of people saying these types of things. Now, there's a 2013 alleged altercation with J. Cole. So during a post-MTV Music Video Awards party, Diddy was involved in a physical altercation with rapper J. Cole. The dispute reportedly began when Diddy confronted Kendrick Lamar over his Control verse, leading to J. Cole intervening. The situation escalated, resulting in a scuffle between Diddy and Cole. The incident was later referenced by J. Cole in his 2021 song called Let Go My Hand, where he reflects on the confrontation and its aftermath. Then there's a 2014 nightclub incident with Drake, allegedly. In 2014, Diddy and Drake were involved in a physical altercation outside Live nightclub in Miami. Reports indicate that Diddy punched Drake during an argument over the song 0 to 100, which both artists have expressed interest in recording. Witnesses stated that Diddy approached Drake to discuss the matter, leading to a confrontation. These incidents, among others, have contributed to a narrative of aggressive behavior associated with Diddy, both in his personal relationships and professional interactions. The accumulation of such reports has intensified public scrutiny and raised questions about patterns of conduct over the years. But Diddy denies this. However, sources claim that Drake sought medical treatment for a shoulder injury. Now, this event wasn't officially documented by the police, but in interviews and songs, Drake seemed to reference the incident cryptically. He even posted a clip from the film Carlito's Way, where a character warns someone to stay out of the club, interpreted by fans as a subliminal aimed at Diddy. Drake reportedly refused to work on projects or attend events involving Diddy after the altercation. This is the fun one. In February 2019, a man intentionally vandalized Diddy's wax figure at Madame Tussauds New York Museum. The guy ran into the building, began shouting at the statue before knocking the head off of it, and then stomped on the decapitated head. They say it was $300,000 in damages, and then he fled the scene. And didn't give a clear reason why he did this, but he got a psych eval after. I mean, who the hell knows? That's just a fun fact, I guess. Then another one that came out in October 2024, the incident took place in 2021. A man identified as John Doe filed a lawsuit against Diddy, alleging that he was drugged and sexually assaulted at a party hosted by Diddy in October 2021. According to the complaint, after consuming a drink at the event, he lost consciousness and later awoke to find himself being assaulted by Diddy and others. The lawsuit claims that a professional athlete intervened during the incident, preventing further harm. This allegation is part of a broader pattern of accusations against Diddy involving claims of drugging and sexual misconduct at his parties. In a separate lawsuit filed in November 2024, another individual alleged that Diddy drugged and R-worded him at a New York City house party. Additionally, reports have surfaced accusing Diddy of using substances like GHB to incapacitate victims, with some claims stating that he applied drug-laced baby oil to facilitate the assaults. Diddy has denied all allegations of wrongdoing. He is currently facing multiple lawsuits in a federal trial on charges including sex trafficking and racketeering. The trial, which began in May 2025, has brought to light numerous allegations of abuse and misconduct spanning several decades. 2022, alleged assaults at the BET Awards and other parties. So 2 separate lawsuits were filed in 2024 from this 2022 event. A personal trainer identified as John Doe alleges that after being invited to an exclusive after party at Diddy's Los Angeles mansion following the 2022 BET Awards, he was required to sign a NDA and consume a drink that left him disoriented. He claims while impaired, he was coerced into non-consensual acts with Combs and other individuals. The lawsuit describes the experience as being passed around like a party favor for others' sexual gratification. In a separate case from 2022, a woman identified as Jane Doe alleges that a December 2022 party in Manhattan, she was given a glass of wine that she believed it was laced with drugs. She reports waking up with physical injuries, including bruises and rope marks, indicating she had been restrained and assaulted. The lawsuit claims that Diddy's staff facilitated the distribution of drugs at the event. These allegations are part of a broader series of legal challenges facing Diddy, who is currently on trial for charges including sex trafficking and racketeering. The trials brought to light numerous accusations of abuse, misconduct spanning several decades. Now, Cassie Ventura's lawsuit was like 35 pages, talks about a decade of abuse, coercion, exploitation, and a whole lot of nasty stuff. In 2024, Eminem releases Fuel, explicitly accusing Diddy of being a R-worder, implying involvement in Tupac and Biggie's murders, saying, "Rest in peace, Biggie and Pac, both y'all should be living. He might put a hit out on me like Keith D and get him." Tupac's family hires high-profile attorney Alex Spiro to investigate Diddy's involvement. Spurred by Keith D's claims, Spiro also represents New York Mayor Adams, who revoked Diddy's key to the city. Nice. Biggie's family. Biggie's mother, Valletta Wallace, expresses disgust over Diddy's assault on Cassie Ventura, stating she wants to slap the daylights out of him and questions his love for Biggie, implying it surfaced only after his death. Public disclosure. Diddy's fame surged after Biggie's death. Yep, we got that. October 2024, Janice Combs, the mother of Diddy, publicly defended her son amid mounting legal challenges, including federal charges of sex trafficking, racketeering, and multiple civil lawsuits alleging sexual misconduct. In a statement released through her attorney, she described the situation as a public lynching and expressed profound sadness over the allegations against her son. She acknowledged that Diddy is not perfect and admitting he may not have been entirely truthful about certain things, such as denying past violence towards ex-girlfriend Cassie. She referenced 2016 hotel surveillance footage showing Diddy assaulting Ventura, which surfaced in May 2024. Janice suggested the decision to settle Ventura's lawsuit was misinterpreted by the public and prosecutors in an admission of guilt, leading to further legal scrutiny. She also questioned the motives of other accusers, implying that some allegations were financially driven rather than seeking justice. She emphasized the importance of allowing her son the opportunity to present his side in court, saying, "My son's not the monster they have painted him to be." Oof, those are some mom goggles there. That's an enabler. So here is the big one. What caused Diddy to go from being totally protected and insulated to the floodgates opening up and, the ground falling out from underneath him? So remember the 50-50 profit sharing agreement that he made with his company, Diageo? So there's a brand named DeLeon that was co-ownership deal between Diddy and Diageo, jointly acquired brand in 2013. But Diddy sues them in 2023, accusing them of neglecting the DeLeon brand, claiming racial discrimination, saying that Diageo is marketed as an urban brand and didn't support it like other premium spirits. He alleged they didn't treat him as a business partner. Now, if you don't know what Diageo is, let me catch you up to speed. Diageo is a company that's been around since the 1700s. It would be faster to name which alcohol brands it does not own rather than the ones that it does own. Like it owns Casamigos, Johnny Walker, Bailey's, Guinness, Don Julio, Crown Royal, Smirnoff, Captain Morgan, So pretty much every major alcohol that you know out there is owned by this company, Diageo. All right. So it's like a 60 to 80 billion dollar market cap, makes about 17 billion dollars a year in revenue. A British company, like the dude who's the chairman of the board is knighted, so he has Sir in front of his name. It's one of those companies that's got like BlackRock, Vanguard, Fidelity as the main shareholders. What I'm getting at here, though, is that there's a difference between old money and new money, and like the oldest money that I could think of out there is like the money that's originates from the freaking British East India Company, because that's really where people start getting rich in like the past couple hundred years. The British East India Company, like the first biggest corporation that was just like straight up selling opium to China and like monetizing the drug trade, like so this company goes all the way back to that. It's probably got connections to like monarchy type of people, like Rothschilds, royal family. Like it's an alcohol monopoly. I mean, so they're printing money, and they're probably looking at this guy who's being greedy, who's making a fuss because they say maybe he thought he had equity, but he just had a revenue split, and he was making a whole fuss about that. But it seems like it got to the point where they're like, excuse me, a little shit. Do you not realize that we've been protecting you, that you're rich because of us, that you're nothing without us? Like, you want to test us? You want to sue us? Because, if we're right in assuming that he's part of this network that protects people like Epstein, that's part of this kind of top elite circle that uses blackmail as a form of currency, then he's a pawn for them. But he's probably a pawn for them without even knowing how high the thing goes. He probably has a handler, and he's probably just so arrogant and so used to being above everything and above everybody and getting away with everything that he was audacious enough to bite the hand that was feeding him. And they said, you know what? You're more trouble than you're even worth. Like, everybody knows you're a creep. Like, it's getting worse and worse. And on top of that, you're going to freaking sue us? You little shit. You think you're hot shit because your net worth says $1 billion on paper? You want to know what real money is? Real money is what we have. We have generational wealth. You're new money. Watch how fast you can make your money evaporate. And then, boom, look at that. He goes from a net worth of $1 billion on paper to now it's under $300 million in the course of 1 year. And now he's facing potentially life in prison. So look how fast that happens. I mean, look at the response from law enforcement. Like, look at this sequence of events here. Like, the freaking Department of Homeland Security rolled up to his house with tanks, all right? They start leaking information, like the 1,000 bottles of baby oil, random fact for them to leak. They find a bunch of ARs in his house, a couple with the serial number scratched off. That's big trouble. His plane goes dark, lands in the island of Antigua as his house is getting raided. And it's very strange, the Department of Homeland Security being sent to his house for stuff like assaults and trafficking and all that. Like, they could be throwing some serious stuff at him. So this whole thing, like, I don't know, just reading between the lines here, but I feel like he had the protection of the highest of the high, most powerful people in the world for the majority of his life because of the deals and connections he made, because of what he was willing to do. But I feel like he pissed somebody off and they said, F you, you little shit. You are not worth the trouble. And then you're going to disrespect us? Yeah, go ahead. Let's see how well you fare for yourself. We're going to let all the stuff that we've been holding back go public. Like, it's not a normal thing for Macy's to allegedly do what they did there. It's not a normal thing for, tough guy gangster rappers to bite their tongue and to not make a whole big thing about him just going up to them and punching them. It's not normal for you to shoot somebody allegedly in front of a bunch of witnesses and then get off clean. These things are not normal. It seems like he was heavily protected, and now it seems like since 2024, everything is coming out. Like the hotel video, the allegations, the search on his house, the book, the freaking book that could allegedly be from Kim Porter, freaking Keith D, the guy who people say that he killed Tupac. All of it's coming out in the past year. right after he pissed off this company, Diageo, that's old generational wealth that's like attached probably to like the British Empire from 300 years ago that owns all the alcohol in the world. So I think he got too arrogant, flew too close to the sun, pissed off serious people. Even his boy, Clive Davis, couldn't protect him. So where we're at now, he's pulling a Weinstein. It seems like he might have dyed his hair gray and he's limping around in court. We're only getting the paintings of it, but yeah, I think he's either gonna get Epsteined or see some jail time, but I don't think he's worth the trouble to the people. I think that I'm honestly surprised he's made it this far, because what's to stop him from talking? But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that was a nice, concise rundown of the horrors of this awful human. And if you enjoyed this, if you appreciate what I do, I would appreciate if you join my book club, because the more people that join my book club, the more I can do cool things like this. So the show notes will be in my book club. I'm connect right here. I think QR code is in the comment section, in the description. Show notes will be in there with the sources and everything. And if you want to know more about the mega group from the One Nation Under Blackmail book, that will be in there also. As always, thank you for watching. If you want to know a little bit more about, let's see, old money, check out this playlist right here about the oldest money that I've ever seen, the Rothschilds. This is a whole playlist about the development of the Rothschilds, and you might see some parallels to this type of company right here, because I think that this is the type of company that the Rothschilds are heavily connected to, and amongst a bunch of other generational wealth type of people. Anyway, as always, much love. Remember to subscribe if you enjoy this video. If you enjoy what I do, please subscribe. Every last subscriber helps. Much love. God bless.